What is up, friends? Happy Friday. Hope you guys are all doing well. We're back with another quick video for you guys. We're going to do a little series here. This is my What Makes a Number One series. This is going to be What Makes a QB1. And I think this is a fun little data study. Basically, what I've done is I looked at 2024 and I've come up with the numbers, and we're just going to take a peek and look at the averages and determine, what are the thresholds that are required for a quarterback to finish as a top 5, a top 10, top whatever QB, a QB1, if you will. If you're in a 10-team league, it needs to be top 10. If you're in a 12-team league, it needs to be top 12 to be considered a QB1. We're going to be making a handful of these. I got running backs, receivers, and tight ends to go. And then I'm going to eventually get this up on the website, fantasyfellowship.com. But I kind of want to wait until I get more data because I want to do a deeper dive here because this is just 2024. And if you guys can see the screen share we got going on here, I'm just going to do a little bit of zooming in here. And let's break this down. So we're looking at 2024. These are your QB1s from last season. Lamar Jackson, QB1. Here is the point scorer column. You can see that kind of goes down from there. But Lamar Jackson with a fantastic season. I actually think he should have been the MVP over Josh Allen. Josh Allen did have a good year, but I thought Lamar Jackson was better. If you would have flip-flopped him, I thought Josh Allen had a better year in 2023 when Lamar won. But whatever, we're kind of nitpicking there. But we got some fun numbers to look at here. And we're going to start with basically the question is what makes a QB1? Well, what makes a top 5 QB? Let's just look at these top 5 QBs from last season because there is a little bit of a drop off here. Lamar is just like a unicorn all by himself, but we kind of have these guys ranging from 350 points to 380 points. And then usually the QB1 is always going to be miles ahead. But what makes a top 5 QB? Last season, it required an average of about almost 4,200 passing yards. You needed to throw about 36 passing touchdowns. You needed to keep your interceptions under 10. For the most part here, Baker Mayfield was the only one that did not. And then look at the rushing yard column. We have a 583 average rush yards for the top 5 QBs and 5 rushing touchdowns. And if we go up here and look at some of these guys who did not meet the criteria, for the passing yards, we have, again, about 4,200 yards. I would say Lamar passes that, Joe Burrow passes that, and Baker Mayfield. But Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels, they do not. But they're able to make up for that in the rushing department because Josh Allen, 531 yards, that's close enough to the 583 average. And then you also have Jaden Daniels there at 891. So even though their passing yardages were below, their rushing numbers were right where they needed to be. And then honestly, their rushing touchdowns too, both above average for sure. Josh Allen's well above average. So it's kind of this give and take thing. You either need to be an elite passer or you need to be an elite rusher. And in that case, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, they were both elite rushers last year, not the best passing numbers. Even though these are good passing numbers, that's what's separating them from Lamar Jackson, who Lamar Jackson's one of the only players that satisfies everything in this category look at. And that's why he was far and away the QB1. I mean, he scored almost 70 more points than Joe Burrow. And then you look at the guys that threw the ball really well, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. These guys were fantastic throwing the ball, but their rushing floors were a little scary. Joe Burrow only 200 yards rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns. 92% of Joe Burrow's fantasy points came from passing. Baker Mayfield, 84% of his fantasy points came from passing. I kind of like these numbers of, Lamar Jackson, 73%, 66% for Josh Allen, and 64% from Jaden Daniels. You want these guys to be able to get at least, a fourth of their points from the rushing department. And you can see these guys all had really nice averages running the football. So, breaking down what it takes to be a top 5 QB, you need to lead the league in either passing yards, passing touchdowns. That's how you're going to get there with your arm. Otherwise, you need to lead the league in rushing touchdowns and rushing yards, and you can kind of see how that breaks down. Now, if we go on further to QBs 6 through 10, the numbers change quite a bit from this range. To be a top basically a top 10 QB, you need about 3,900 passing yards. You need to be at about 28 passing touchdowns. You can have around 10 and a half interceptions, and your rushing totals come down dramatically. You need about 380 rushing yards. That's 200 yards less than the top 5. And then the rushing touchdowns are about the same. So to me, this really stuck out because you see the touchdowns drop about 8 touchdowns less passing. The yards are fine. That's only about 200 to 300 yards less. But to me, you have a huge drop off in passing touchdowns. So I'm kind of thinking, hey, any quarterback that can get over 30, to me, this is a threshold. If I can have a quarterback that's going to throw for more than 30 touchdowns and has a chance to go over 380 some rushing yards, that's kind of the quarterback that I'm looking for. And hey, if I can find a quarterback that's going to run for more than 500 yards, look, there's only a handful of guys to do that. Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Kyler Murray. So I guess one rule that we can kind of lock in is, hey, any quarterback that's going to run for more than 500 yards, you want them probably on your fantasy team. That's kind of a cheat code for me. And then on the flip side of that, any quarterback that's going to throw more than 30 passing touchdowns, you can see Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. These guys they're even above 35. There's a big drop off to the next group here. Any guy that's going to throw 35 plus touchdowns. So that's kind of the standard that we're looking for. And then that's, when you combine rushing yards and passing touchdowns like Lamar did last year, that's what's going to make it go insane. So we have some thresholds developing here. And then to be just like a fringe QB1, you got to have about 3,900 passing yards, about 23 passing touchdowns. Interceptions were lower here. That's because Justin Herbert really skewed it. And then rushing yards, you need at least 300 rushing yards. So for me, the rule is like, I need a quarterback that's going to run the ball. That's why I don't draft a lot of Jared Goff, because everything needs to go right for him as a passer. He doesn't have an out as a rusher. Whereas someone like, Baker Mayfield is a much better click than Jared Goff because he's going to throw the same amount of stuff as Jared Goff. But you can look here, Jared Goff, not even 2% of his points came from rushing. Baker Mayfield at least got 15% of his fantasy points from the rushing column. And hey, he was basically at that 380-yard average we just talked about. He did get some rushing touchdowns. Baker Mayfield's he's like the perfect floor QB1 based on just looking at some of these numbers. So I'm kind of excited about Baker Mayfield. I don't draft a lot of Jared Goff, if at all. Again, I want guys with minimum 300 yards rushing. If you look at this column for rushing yards here, Joe Burrow at 200 was pretty low. 56 for Goff is kind of low. 212 for Sam Darnold's pretty low. Otherwise, everybody's higher than 300. Mahomes, Herbert, Purdy, that's the floor for me. So if I can't see 300 yards rushing in your profile, I'm probably not going to draft you. And then on the flip side of that, if you have 30 plus touchdown upside, if I see you throwing for, more than these 3,900 yards, those are the guys that I'm drafting. So I hope that helped. This is just another real quick way to just look at kind of the stuff that we just talked about. So I'm going to leave, I guess I'm going to go over to my projections and let's just kind of talk about that. So we know we're kind of looking for about 4,000 passing yards. And if you can't satisfy those 4,000 passing yards, you need to be well over that 300 some yard rushing. So let's just kind of open up my projections. And I think I just hiccuped a little bit. Sorry about that. I moved my router booster and it's been kind of cutting out the internet. So I'm going to have to get that back here. But I'm just going to open up my projections, which you guys can check out on thefantasyfellowship.com. I am running a promo right now, a summer promo. It's good through July 31st. You get my full season-long package, which is the full 365 days from when you buy it. But you're going to get access to these projections, the rankings, the cheat sheets, best ball stuff, like everything's in there, and then all my in-season content as well. So these are my top, we'll go top 13. I'm just going to make that, we're going to go top 13, and let's figure out, okay, so who are some guys here that we can maybe target in this range that I'm feeling good about? So guys with, I kind of want to, let's go ahead and make that a bright color. We're going to make that bright orange. We'll make these guys bright orange so we can see. Okay, I'm going to filter by passing yards. And we'll find the guys here that actually, let's Let's undo that. We're going to make this column orange. Bear with me, people. Okay, passing yards. So these guys all check the boxes. These are all guys I have projected for over 4,000 passing yards. That's Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, or Trevor Lawrence, and then Mahomes, Goff, Prescott, and Joe Burrow. Now, let's find the guys that can also throw over 4,000 yards and run for more than 300 yards. So that's going to be Pat Mahomes. We're going to make Pat Mahomes a green color. Burrow, Prescott, and Goff did not. Mahomes did. Trevor Lawrence does. So you're getting 4,000 passing yards and 300 rushing yards. I think that looks pretty good. I think Justin Herbert, another guy we want to color in green here. And then Brock Purdy's really close. He's at 285. I'm going to give him just a little benefit of the doubt. And we feel good about Pat Mahomes being one of these guys. So we have those guys reaching those thresholds on both fronts. Now, what about those rushing quarterbacks? Let's find some of those guys. So we have Jaden Daniels leading the way. So basically any quarterback that we kind of said is over 500 yards, we want to circle in here as potential QB1s. So let's go ahead and get these guys all limed up with lime green here. These are the quarterbacks that I think could finish as if things break right, these guys could easily be the QB1. And then Justin Fields is going to be in here too, but his passing thresholds are well below the numbers that we looked at here, so I don't think he qualifies personally. I do think Drake May is really close, but Drake May, yeah, he could run for 500 plus yards this year, but his passing numbers are going to be a little bit lacking. So that does concern me a little bit, but I'm gonna make Drake May orange just because we're still interested in these guys. They can, be a QB1. Same thing with Justin Fields here. And then you got this weird group of guys, Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is a guy that definitely interests me. And same with Caleb Williams. We'll see about Anthony Richardson. My guy, Baker Mayfield, I have him at about 295 rushing yards. So I'm going to flip him back to green. And then that's kind of my list, man. These quarterbacks in green, I think, are the ones that we want to be looking for. And when I come back to my projections, it looks like Baker Mayfield's the lowest guy. And then most of these guys do have 30-plus touchdown potential. Notice how Joe Burrow, I didn't have him as a target. I get nervous about these passing quarterbacks that don't have a ton of rushing upside. I think Jordan Love can get there. He's at 235 passing or rushing yards. He's a guy that I could see getting there. But, man, if I could go into my draft and saying, hey, I'll take Brock Purdy and Baker Mayfield and figure it out, I think these guys have the makeup that I'm looking for. But even deeper on this list, like Justin Fields, yeah, he could be a top 10 QB1 this season. Other quarterbacks that kind of came close, CJ Stroud, 255 rushing yards, over 4,000 passing yards. I think he's a guy that kind of qualifies. So I do like all of these guys. I'm probably out on Jared Goff. I just don't want a quarterback that can't run the ball. And Goff ran really, really hot on efficiency last year. So for him to double down and do that, maybe, but I'm a little bit nervous about that. And yeah, that is what makes a QB1, man. I think this was a fun exercise. I hope you guys learned some things. Stay tuned for my what makes a running back one. I'm probably going to get that posted pretty soon here. Let me go ahead and hit refresh on that. We'll just kind of recap some of these numbers. But feel free to take a screenshot of these. I'm going to be posting this. I might post for free on the fantasyfellowship.com. This is a fun data study. But again, you need to have this combination of a high rushing floor, and you need to be able to throw for about 3,800 to 3,900 yards. If not, you got to throw for a ton of passing touchdowns and passing yards. So there you have it. What makes a quarterback one? Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you soon. Peace. Got me feeling icy.